All right, in this section, we're talking about right triangle trigonometry. You guys all learned in geometry sine, cosine, and tangent for right triangles. Okay, sine of an angle is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. You do not have to memorize these. These are all going to be on your formula sheet. So you'll have these formulas. No need to memorize. What you do need to remember is how to identify these different pieces. The hypotenuse is always the side that is across from the right angle. It is always the longest side. Okay, so we use hypotenuse as the denominator in sine and in cosine. The opposite and adjacent depend on where the angle is. So in this picture, this angle is marked. The angle that is opposite would be the one we can draw like an arrow to. That is the opposite side. Okay, the side that helps make the angle is the adjacent side. Okay, this side helps make this angle, so it is the adjacent. Adjacent means next to or touching. It's touching this angle. Okay. Some other important vocabulary is in this picture. You do not get this on your reference sheet, so you do need to understand these two terms. Angle of elevation is from some horizontal line up to whatever we're looking at. So in this case, the angle of elevation is from my line of sight up to where I can see the airplane. Okay. Angle of depression is from some horizontal line down to what I'm looking at. Okay, so in this case, it's the angle I'm looking at this dog. Okay, move down. Okay, sometimes this horizontal might be on the ground. Sometimes it might be a line of sight. Sometimes it might be the top of a building. There's different situations. Okay. All right, let's look at some examples. It says use the triangle to find each ratio as a fraction. So here I'm focusing on angle A for these three. So I'm going to do this one using pink. Okay, this is the angle I'm looking at. I'm going to label my triangle. This is hypotenuse. This side helps make this angle, so this is adjacent. This side is opposite the angle. I could draw an arrow through this triangle from this angle to this side. That is opposite. When I'm doing sine, again, you get your reference sheet. It says opposite over hypotenuse. So I know I'm doing O over H. So in this case, it's going to be 5 over 13. For cosine, again, you have your reference sheet. It's adjacent over hypotenuse. So A over H. Adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So 5 over 12. Okay, for the next one, we're doing angle B. Angle B is here. Hypotenuse doesn't change. Hypotenuse is always the same side. Now, opposite and adjacent are going to be different because this side helps make angle B. So this is adjacent. This side over here is going to be opposite because it's across from angle B. So opposite over hypotenuse is going to be 12 over 13. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's 5 over 13. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, so 12 over 5. Okay. The next section, we are finding values. This is just using our calculator. And now this is where, depending on what calculator you're using, you're going to type things in different ways. So I'm going to show you on this calculator, and I'm going to show you on another calculator. On this calculator, you type in the angle first, and then you hit the function. So this is cosine, so I hit cosine here. All right, for this one, it didn't say what to round to. Let's just round to 2 decimal places. We're going to get 0.75. Okay. For tangent, we type in the angle, we hit tangent. We get 0.42. Okay. Now, I want you to notice something. At the top, this says DEG. That is for degrees. These are angles measured in degrees. If for some reason your calculator says RAD, that's radians, you are going to get a completely different answer. You always want to check to make sure your calculator is in the right mode. See, if I hit this button again, it says GRAD. If I hit it again, it says DEG. Now, the good news is, turn my calculator off and turn it back on. It defaults to degree automatically for this type of calculator. So as long as you turn your calculator off, turn it back on, it's going to turn on in the correct mode. Okay. These questions, if I do 78 and I hit sine, I get 0.9, and I have to round this up to an 8 because this number is 5 or greater. All right, and then 53 sine, and I get 0 points. And this one, because this is an 8, I would have to round this up. So instead of 0.79, it's going to be 0.80. Okay, now on the other calculator, on this one, some calculators, again, you can check to make sure it's in degree mode. If you needed to change it on this calculator, you have to hit the mode button, and you'd want to use these arrows to move it over to degree and hit enter if it was in the wrong mode. Anyway, on this calculator, you hit the function first and then the degree. So here I hit cosine, here I hit tangent, and see how it looks exactly like the problem, and then you just hit enter. So different steps. This calculator, you hit the function first and then the degrees. Other calculator, you hit the degrees first. Alright, on the next page, we've got more examples using the calculator. So again, we're going to type things into the calculator, but we're noticing here we have these -1s. These are for inverse. And inverse means we're working backwards to find the degrees. Okay, you'll see these symbols on this calculator in green above these keys. To get to anything that's in green, you have to hit the second key first. So, for this problem, we type in, the number first, and then in this case, we hit second cosine, and we're going to get 67 degrees. For the next one, we type the number first, 0.6293, we hit second sine. And we're rounding to the nearest whole number, the directions say, so this is going to be 39 degrees. Next one, we type in the number, and we hit second tangent, and this tells us it's 20 degrees. Okay, on your other calculator, same process, you'll see these inverse trig buttons with these -1s with the green. So you hit second cosine and then you type in the value. So it's the order that you push the buttons that's different. Okay. Example 4 says find the measure of each angle. So when we're finding the measure, that's when we use inverse. So this is saying to use the inverse. Okay, this would be use inverse cosine, and this would be inverse tangent. Same process. This calculator, we type the number first, and we hit second and our sign button. So this is going to be 31 degrees. For this one, we've got 0.2, and then we're going to do second cosine. We get 77 degrees, and we get 0.5681, and second tangent. So this is 30 degrees. Okay, so keep in mind when you're finding the angle, we're using inverse. Okay, finding the angle, you're using inverse. I'm going to stop the video here